The importance of building networks in 2022 and beyond. Hi guys, it's Syama here, and gosh, coming out of all these crazy lockdowns, all the crazy restrictions, you might be wondering, is it time to start attending conferences these days? How are we approaching networking? What are the best ways to be building up your infrastructure and networks? Well, let me tell you, this past year of 2021 has actually been a very social year for me. It's been extremely social, more so than I could have imagined. And in what ways? Well, number one, I found myself extremely well connected digitally during this year. Something that I thought would be fantastic actually ended up eating up a lot more time than I would have predicted, but ultimately allowed me to connect with people that I never would have before. What does that look like? Well, I was able to join a number of different professional groups to help me connect not just with, let's say, other women executives, but other entrepreneurs, other people who had similar spiritual values and beliefs as I did, and really found ways of connecting digitally. Now, what's so amazing about some of these smaller groups and online groups is that it gives you an opportunity to meet way more people than you may have in the past, and it also gives you an opportunity to maybe communicate and get more information out, right? We've all been at that conference where you talk to someone for 5 seconds and you run away and you're talking to someone else. You don't really have that one-to-one experience, but you set aside some time for a digital coffee with someone, and all of a sudden you have their attention in a very focused capacity. So building up networks is super important, and continuing to leverage digital platforms for your networking, I think, is something that we're all are going to be integrating for years to come. So I would suggest taking a step back on the digital side and saying, okay, what are the areas of my life that I actually need the most support with, right? What are the areas of my life that I think I'm going to want business contacts in? Perhaps it's looking for fundraising. Perhaps you're going to be hiring. Perhaps you're looking for people who can help you with managing your entrepreneurial leadership and kind of day-to-day struggles. Or maybe you're looking for someone who's going to help kind of guide you, or a group that's going to be guiding you on a more spiritual path that will ultimately help you with business, keeping your mind, body, and spirit centered. So when we're starting to think about different areas of support, digital groups online, I think, are a fantastic opportunity, and there are so many that are available. So while you might be digitally taxed, right, one way that's going to be continuously providing a great network of people is going to be tapping into digital platforms. Again, not just on big Slack communities, but the places where you can have smaller groups, right? Perhaps you join a big group on Slack and you put a note out and say, hey guys, I want to start to have a monthly regular meetup of people so we can start talking about these issues. Don't be afraid to take the lead on creating smaller cohorts and small groups. In fact, what you might find is by creating your own small group atmosphere that you're actually able to curate it and develop the topics and the cadence of meetings that best suits you. So it never hurts to be the founder of these kinds of activations. At the same time, being committed to these platforms does require you to have some diligence. You need to carve out the time. I would say on a regular basis, I'm probably spending at least 2 to 3 hours a week networking with people, right? Whether that's attending a Zoom meeting where I'm meeting new people for the first time, or it's one of my small group cohorts that I'm a part of. You have to take the time to dedicate yourself to really getting the most out of these sorts of opportunities. So make sure that's on your agenda as you're planning and allocating your time and resources. Now, the next thing is obviously getting back to things in person. Now, when it comes to looking at in-person activations and like going to conferences, I actually think it's super valuable to be able to ask yourself, okay, what are the areas where I actually want to be inspired in real life? Chances are there are a lot more than one, right? But where do I want to be inspired? Knowing now that conference prices have gone up. Most of them now have rapid COVID testing at the door. And oftentimes when it comes to the cost of these spaces, of hiring people, of all the logistics, of the safety measures, a lot of these conference prices are increasing, right? So you're going to want to cherry pick your spots in terms of where you want to be networking and how you want to get involved in the conference landscape. Now, obviously, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to being in fashion, there are a number of different activations that you want to keep on top of mind, right? So the first one might be something like industry-specific conferences where you can learn from experts. Sometimes at places like Magic, for example, or other kinds of trade shows, you'll find experts like myself and industry leaders who are giving really great high quality content really on their educational platform and on that stage. So if you're already planning on attending a conference like Magic, make sure that you take the time to attend some of these speaker series. The reason why that's so valuable is you're really just knocking out two birds with one stone, and you get a chance to network, usually with the speakers as well as with other people in the audience. So look at doubling up, if you can, any of your trade shows with any of those speaker series lineups. And the other thing you want to take a look at are what are some of the other ways in which you want to be rejuvenated in real life and in person. Keep in mind that these days, some of the best networking capabilities and networking platforms have nothing to do with saying, hey, we're going to come together and do business transactions. Oftentimes, it's kind of under this more regenerative idea of, hey, entrepreneurs, let's get together, go on a retreat, and how can we support each other, right? What are our needs? How do we start to understand what our businesses mean to ourselves? So look for entrepreneurial retreats and opportunities to really connect mind, body, spirit with fellow entrepreneurs that think similarly to you. In addition to that, there are tons of conferences that are going to be more specific, right? Digital marketing conferences about, how you're going to start to do out of home. Lots of other kinds of conferences on the future of retail. Women's Wear Daily produces quite a few. Business to Fashion has their Voices conference. Vogue Business has their conference. So there are a number of retail conferences that happen now that really didn't happen before, right? And what I think is so great about that is, again, you get a chance to network up, learn from really amazing leaders, and then also have an opportunity to network with other business owners, right? A lot of these conferences, though, just so you know, are typically geared towards C-suite professionals in more mid to larger scale companies, right? And sometimes they'll say we have startups attending, but the startups who are attending are typically doing, let's say, $25 million in revenue, right? So if you find yourself on the much smaller side of that, you're going to want to attend those conferences through the lens of what can I learn from the big guys in order to adapt that and integrate that into my small business. Know that you guys might be at different playing fields. And in fact, when you're applying to attend these conferences, because many of them are invite only, you may want to ask the person, hey, who else is going to be attending? How might this be a benefit to me? So do make sure you have a great fit. But again, going into this new expansive world of focusing definitely on your digital communities and then also focusing on cherry picking your in real life building, it's very, very important to ask yourself, how can I actually serve other people, serve these communities, and what are my needs? What can I ask for? I often find sometimes in female founder groups that we do a really good job of saying, I can help you with all these things, but when it comes to asking, we're not always really good on asking. And so I think asking becomes a really big, important thing. Where might you need help? How can these communities you're about to join or even consider re-upping your membership on, how are they actually supporting those key categories? And again, could be anything from angel investors to people who have access to family funds, to people who are fellow entrepreneurs, to people who are maybe in different adjacent areas or different categories because you're looking at how other industries operate to maybe expand your brand. Think about all the needs that you might have and choose your community wisely. All right, guys, that's all from me over here at Scaling Retail. One last push, get involved, get into community, make sure you're networking, meeting people, following up on LinkedIn. And honestly, everyone's overwhelmed. It's the new consensus. There isn't any person who I've met who does not feel a sense of overwhelm with what is going on in community these days. So make sure you take a step back, make sure you breathe, but truly ask yourself, what can I stand to gain from opening up my doors and being more expansive with how I look at community, not only just giving, but getting. All right, guys, that's all from me at Scaling Retail. I'm Syama Maher. Feel free to reach out at hello@Scaling Retail. I'm a co-CEO for Hire, working with pre-revenue and early growth stage direct-to-consumer and wholesale companies. What I do really well? Well, guys, I help you manage all different areas of your business. We look at your P&L, capacity building, sequencing, how to invest your resources, and ultimately how to build you a business to scale. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.